FM4
Reality Check.
For this Saturday's Reality Check, we're going on a journey.
We head deep into the heart of Central America.
I'm Chris Cummins, and this program comes to you from the coffee growing area of Nicaragua.
And look at where our coffee comes from. Chris Cummins visits a FairTrade coffee plantation.
The roads in Nicaragua are very rough, and so to get to these remote farms, that means long journeys, but it's through absolutely stunning landscape.
Chris meets and lives with the people who grow and harvest the beans.
Join me, Chris Cummins,
as Reality Check heads to Nicaragua.
FM4
Reality Check.
Hi, I'm Chris Cummins, and this program comes to you from the coffee growing area of Nicaragua in Central America. I'm looking at the trading partnership, FairTrade, that's been active in this country for decades now. It's meant to bring sustainable development, more beneficial trading arrangements for the small-scale poor farmers, and more awareness of the need to fight poverty and ecological destruction in these countries. Does it work? Is it effective? Well, over the next 60 minutes, you'll hear me travelling around this beautiful country, trying to answer those questions. Do stay tuned. I'm watching barefoot children play baseball, Nicaragua's national sport. They're playing under the wide shade of a guanacaste tree in this small village called La Reina, which was only connected to the electricity grid last year. I'm here to find out how fair trade impacts village life. First of all, and most importantly, there's the guaranteed minimum price that farmers get to always cover the cost of production, even in a price slump. It's a sort of safety net against bankruptcy that lets the small-scale farmers plan for the future. But there's also an additional premium paid on top of that price, and the General Secretary of the local cooperative, 55-year-old Imelda Argo, has been telling me how that premium is spent.
Por ejemplo, nosotros aquí en la cooperativa hacemos un acuerdo.
She says it's used to cover loans to keep the village school running and to give the kids money for school equipment like books and pens, and to improve local transport.
Para que nuestros hijos no se vayan a atrasar de lo que es la educación.
Producer cooperatives are enterprises owned and democratically run by their member farmers. Small cooperatives melt into bigger cooperatives such as the Seco Cafén in the main regional town of Matagalpa, with 2,500 members. Its director is Mauricio Ruiz, who I met earlier today.
Mi nombre es Mauricio Ruiz, soy el gerente general de la Central de Cooperativas Cafetaleras del Norte, Seco Cafén.
Mauricio says the premium has helped the farmers' lives through improving the education of many children and through a program for screening women for cervical cancer that he says has saved many lives.
Se ha mejorado el medio ambiente, o sea, es muchos los aportes que hacemos desde la organización.
Right now, the prices on the global coffee markets are high. The farmers don't need the minimum price safety net. But Mauricio says that the farmers themselves know that the markets are very volatile and the next crisis could be just around the corner.
De que la actividad cafetalera les va a proveer los ingresos para las necesidades de la familia.
Right, well, I think it's about time we went and met some of those farmers.
FM4
Coffee here in Nicaragua is produced at over 900 meters up in the mountains north of the town of Matagalpa. The roads in Nicaragua are very rough, and so to get to these remote farms, that means long journeys in one of these, a jeep. But it's through absolutely stunning landscape. It's a very seismic country, Nicaragua. There's kind of volcanoes and jungly mountains. And when I get to the top of this hill, we're going to meet a female farmer. Farmers here still earn a pittance. The huts which peep out of the forest around here are just kind of wooden plank buildings with tin roofs. But at least with fair trade, farmers say they get that little bit more from their produce. And because of the minimum price, It means when there are cafe slumps, as happened for the last time in 2003, they don't go out of business. So when I get to the top of this mountain, we'll go and meet this female farmer and find out whether all of that, the theory, is true in practice.
Este café se corta solo el rojito.
Dionisia Valdivia, a stout farmer in her 50s, is showing me how to pick a coffee berry. You have to take the red ones and leave the green ones on the bush. So even if it takes longer, it's best to do it one berry at a time.
Entonces el próximo año no tenemos cosecha.
Her farm is just gorgeous to look at. Good quality coffee has to be grown in the shade, and Dionisia's coffee bushes nestle under a green canopy of banana trees and mango trees. Her farm is over 900 meters above sea level, and it's in a natural amphitheater of jungly mountain peaks.
En el sistema de que nosotros cuando, por ejemplo, ya ahorita en estos tiempos que
One thing that FairTrade has done for Dionisia through its premium is give her the financial support to send her daughter to school by bus. Her school is a long way from the farm. But being part of a FairTrade system doesn't come free. Producers are obliged to adhere to certain social and ecological rules. In another valley, on another farm, a couple of jeep hours away, Anselmo, who joined the FairTrade system 6 years ago, describes how he can't pour water dirtied by the initial coffee processing back into the streams, and he can't use harsh pesticides. But he says, although this costs a little bit extra, it is worth it. The last coffee price slump in 2004, before he joined FairTrade, almost ruined him. He says he almost died of shock when the prices sunk so low. FairTrade gives the farmers a guaranteed minimum price so that they can always cover the cost of production, even in a price crisis. That means they can stay afloat. The system doesn't make the farmers rich, though. Anselmo is the biggest farmer in his cooperative, but he still lives in a barely furnished shack, surrounded by skinny chickens and a pig tied to a tree. Nicaragua is the poorest country in Central America. Its GDP is about a third of that of its neighbours. With this level of poverty, there's no magic wand.
FM4.
This is a Saturday reality check special on the origins of our coffee. I'm Chris Cummins, and I join you now from deep in the Green Mountains of Nicaragua. I'm in the center of this country's coffee-producing area, north of the town of Matagalpa, in some green, jungly mountains where the coffee's produced. We're visiting FairTrade farmers and looking at how the FairTrade system has changed their lives, improved it a bit, and changed the way they produce their coffee. I'm here with Hartwig from FairTrade Austria. Hartwig, as we've heard from the farmers Anselmo and Dionisia, being a FairTrade farmer involves adhering to certain standards, certain ecological rules, social rules to make sure that coffee is produced in a better, fairer way. But we're in such a remote place. It took 2.5 hours to get here in a jeep on a dirt track. It's really the middle of nowhere. How can we be sure that the farmers are doing what they say they're doing when they're producing FairTrade coffee?
I think the most important thing is that the auditors of FairTrade are not living in Europe or in the US, but they are living here in this country, in Nicaragua or maybe in Costa Rica. So they know this country, they have access to the culture, they have know about the language, and it's for them, of course, much more easy to control and to check.
There was a bit of a scandal back in 2006 when a Financial Times reporter who was in Peru visited lots of different coffee producers and found that the way the coffee was being produced was not adhering to the FairTrade standards, although the coffee being sold had the FairTrade certificate. The workers were being paid far less than the minimal wage, and they were being cooped up in these cramped conditions, very unsanitary, just huts with a hole in the floor for a toilet. That's not what consumers are paying for in the West when they pay extra for FairTrade coffee. So what's changed since 2006 to improve the auditing system?
I mean, of course, there are breaches of standards from time to time, either because people don't know really tightly about these standards. But of course, if you have 1.5 million farmers, there will be always a few black sheep. But what I can say is that the controls, the checks are done regularly, and that if something happens, then there are measures taken to change these problems.
Would you wish yourself out of a job, that the whole world trading system was so fair that there didn't have to be niche markets?
FairTrade is not there to cover a certain niche of consumers, but our aim is to change the whole trading structures. And in a few markets this has already happened. Look to bananas. I mean, the big banana companies really have started to change how they work in the market, how they behave. Also in the cocoa industry, a lot is in motion at the moment. So best thing is I wouldn't have to work for FairTrade anymore, and I could apply for a job where I earn much more.
FM4.
FM4.
I'm on a sun-blasted patio, a huge concrete field 2 times the size of a football field, where coffee beans, now yellow, looking like unshelled peanuts, have been laid out, masses and masses of coffee beans, and they're being raked over by women who are working here in the 35 degrees heat, and they're wearing long trousers, long baggy shirts and gloves and woolen scarves and face masks. You can't see anything but their eyes, as if we were in the Saharan desert. They're protecting themselves from the sun and working for 9 hours a day with very short breaks, and for a paltry $6 a day. They work over Saturday and Sunday in the high season, sometimes working many, many days on the trot. And this is the reality of where very expensive, world-class Nicaraguan coffee comes from. I'm now going to have a go at raking, just to see how hard work it is. And I'm going to chat to Maria, a worker who's 25 years old from the local area. Mary says it's incredibly hot, but that they have to wear so many clothes because you have to protect yourself from the sun. Better too hot, she says, than burnt. The girls also told me during their short break that they're happy to work many days in a row because they consider this $6 a day job good money. But economists back in Managua, the capital, say a family needs around $400 a month just to make ends meet.
Este es un café de brosa, un café de inferior calidad.
Farmers are delivering their beans to the processing plant, known as a beneficio, and the foreman is testing some beans from each sack to test its quality. The quality of the coffee will determine how much the producers get. Most of the coffee, 98%, is exported to either North America or to Europe, and just the lowest 2% of quality stays in Nicaragua.
Como les decía, los cafés de Nicaragua y de esta zona son cafés muy afrutados.
It's a highlight now of my trip to look at coffee production in Nicaragua. I'm going to finally try some FairTrade produced coffee, and Julio has been showing us how to do it. Right, first of all, I take a spoon, dip it in some water, and then I take some from the top of a little soup bowl of coffee. I didn't do it very well. You're doing much stronger. Round the mouth. Well, it was delicious. Julio, muchas gracias.
FM4 Reality Check.
Well, I'm back in the Nicaraguan capital, Managua, now, and as you can hear, the tropical rain has started to thunder down, and this is a good point to mark the end of this Saturday Reality Check special on the origins of our coffee. Nicaragua really is a great country to visit. It's a biodiversity jewel. It's got stunning landscape, but one statistic will haunt me from this trip here. 35% of the rural population live on less than 60 US cents every day. The coffee grown here, this high quality Arabica, fetches such a high price on the markets in New York that it's known as black gold, like oil. Now, I'm no economist, but it just seems wrong that the people producing it are living in such abject poverty when they're producing such a valuable commodity. I'm Chris Cummins. I hope you've enjoyed this special program from Nicaragua. Have a great weekend.
FM4
Reality Check.